We think we're crazy?
This is a trap from China. And if you stop for 1 second, you're gonna... What a beautiful day in the neighborhood. A beautiful day in the neighborhood.
Would you be mine? Could you be mine? Won't you be
my neighbor?
It's a neighborly day in this beauty wood, a neighborly day for beauty. Would you be mine? Could you be mine?
Welcome back to Maybe We're Crazy.
Maybe we are.
Maybe we aren't.
Maybe we're not. So I was sipping on some coffee this, evening. It's so strange in 2020 what is like acceptable in my home and what's not. Because I used to drink caffeine like all day long. Then all of a sudden, I just turned into an old man in 2020. Where it's like, you're drinking coffee at 4 p.m.? You're having a sip of coffee? I mean, wow. Isn't it strange though? I mean, I remember a time where a little bit of cocaine at 4 p.m. was how you started the evening. And now it's like, I have a little bit of coffee and I'm off my rockers. I need to go to the crazy house.
That's not true.
I am totally turning into this guy right here, Mr. Rogers.
A very dear friend got us this Christmas present.
Yeah, I think she was insinuating something. I think she was like, hey, Kopus, be careful or you're going to turn into this guy right here.
Well, and look, he gives you positive reinforcements. Oops.
You've made this day a special day by just your being you.
And he says,
Thank you. 2 of the best words we can ever learn.
Well, yeah, Boo needs to learn that word or he's going to get spanked. So thank you, Kristen. We appreciate it.
and she's one of the funniest people we know.
Yeah.
So check her out.
So stop watching what we're doing right now and go check out...
No, when you're done watching us, go check her out. We'll link her Instagram below. She's really great.
So, apparently, on YouTube, they're going to start shadow banning or unpromoting. I haven't heard the ins and outs of the new policy, white males. By the way, I'm not really a white male. I'm only,
good. I'm glad you're Mexican.
Yeah. But with the other show that we do, Reasonable Descent, with that white guy, it might be a problem now, so...
Really?
It's unfortunate.
What do you mean they're going to stop promoting shows
I don't know.
with white guys?
I think it's kind of...
like cis white male? Or cis white male? I don't even like that term, by the way. Who invented cis something? I hate that. I hate it. I'm just going to... Sorry to cut you off. But I hate that term. I hate it.
It's like sister, sister. Is that what you mean? Like sister, sister?
People say cis female. That means like you're a heterosexual female. And a cis male is like you're a heterosexual male.
I've never heard of that.
Yeah, look it up. I'll Google it.
Well, okay. Yeah.
What is a cis male?
I'm playing dumb. Of course I've heard of that.
Also called a spermatic or epididymal cyst, is
Oh.
a fluid film.
That's not it.
Yeah. Well, everyone's allowed to create new language. Okay?
Okay.
If you want to use those words, it's fine. If I want to continue to become more and more like this old man and just, use the language that I'm comfortable with, like my grandfather used to use the N-word, well, then I guess that's who I'm going to become.
I hope not.
I'm not going to regress. I'm not going to start using the N-word. I'm just saying that, there's always an evolution of the language. And you don't have to use all the new words. That's the great thing about getting old is you could just be like, huh? Oh, I've never heard of that before. You could do it,
Yeah, you can.
So
My dad
that's
does it
kind of
all
what
the
I was
time.
what I was doing with
Oh.
that. I've heard of the whole cis thing. It's fine. I'm not mad at it. I'm just probably not going to use it.
I don't like it. But anyway, so YouTube's saying that they're not going to promote white males.
Apparently so.
Just like in general, any white male?
Yeah, in general. I don't know how they're going to figure that out. But maybe once you start getting popular enough. It's too bad. We got a lot of white dudes we watch that are really great pickers. I wonder if we're going to start seeing more of Tesla pickers videos instead of Matt's.
That's so weird.
It is kind of weird. So, I don't know, maybe I'm
Well, let
crazy,
me know
but
what you
that
guys
seems
think
pretty...
if you've heard of any of this. Oh yeah, what about
Oh.
Kevin from Commonwealth?
Yeah, him too.
Froggy flips, like all of them? They're just gonna be gone?
No, I don't think they'll be gone. I just think that YouTube is going to stop pushing them in the algorithm. They're looking for more diversity. I don't know. That's how it works, though. Inside the YouTube algorithm, I thought maybe you just get videos that are kind of a lot like the stuff that you watch. Like, we never even heard of this guy, Mag on the Run, or Mag Truth. He's got like 400 channels.
Oh yeah, he's really good.
He's funny. But, yeah, we never heard of him, and he just popped into our feed because we listened to a lot of videos that were questioning the mainstream narrative about comorbid. Yeah.
Contravirus.
The other thing I saw today on CNBC was an article. It was a suggestion. It wasn't policy yet, so we don't have to worry about it quite yet. But they were suggesting that we give out $1,500, another stimulus round, which I'm in favor for. Why not? If the bankers are getting billions, why shouldn't we get $1,500? But you got to take a vaccine in order to get that $1,500. You got to do something for it.
Right, so I screenshotted something from CNN on that.
Uh-huh.
You guys, I'll let you know here. Because I'm getting old, I can't see anymore. I was, I think it's because I look at this phone all the time. Okay, it said the Department of Health and Human Services. Oh no, this is something different. I'm sorry.
All right.
But go on with yours. I have something else about the Health and Human Services.
Well, I mean, I'm not here to just report the news. If people want to look it up, I'm sure they can look it up. But what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I read about it, and it was this, it was like a senator, Jeff something or other from Florida. It's just a strong, like, it's just a idea. It's not like a mandatory
Oh,
thing.
like it was the first time that idea was ever thought of was like yesterday by Jeff or whoever this guy. I don't get. You don't have to look him up, but this asshole from Florida, he just thought of it out of the blue.
I don't know.
That's never come across anyone's mind that maybe they might force us to get an inoculation in order to get the next round of stimulus. That's never been brought up ever. So what was he just like, honeymooning and, went outside, smoked a cigarette and was like, you know what? I got a great idea.
I have no idea.
If
I'm
you
sure
want-
they've been talking about it. Come on, I know this. I'm just saying what all the news things reported. Like I read 5 different articles and it had the same guy. It was just him talking about it. But that's a really terrible thing. That's pretty terrible. I think it's absolutely despicable, personally. Because
I mean, it's like when...
You're preying on people who've been like starving and desperate. They haven't gotten a check-in since March, and you're playing off like their weakness and their emotion, and they're desperate. They're desperate.
Some people might be desperate.
There's a lot of people that are desperate.
Okay.
I'm sure.
I'm not going to speak for other people.
Well, from what I've
might be-
seen in the comment section of what's Steven.
Okay. But they know, and when I mean they, the legislators, those that want us to get this inoculation, they know it's not a popular idea. So I wonder what happened. It's kind of like when your mom shouldn't be driving anymore, and you need to take away her license. You need to tell her, hey, you shouldn't be driving anymore. And all the siblings get together and they're like, well, you say it. You know what? She likes you better. Maybe you should say it. And they're like, I'll just like, hey, Jeff from Florida, why don't you just let it out there as a suggestion? Like maybe just, throw it out there. Let's see what people think about it. No one wants to be the one that said it, because what if it doesn't go through and you were that asshole that came up with the idea? Remember what you said, Jeff, back inside December? You weren't even going to give us any money unless we took the little jab.
Yeah, that's why I said it's terrible.
Yeah, it's bad. It's really bad. But we expected that. We knew they were going to try to introduce that. There's a lot of people unhappy with this whole situation. It's pretty much what we've been talking about for the last few days on our show. But it's kind of a popular topic of discussion right now. It's on everybody's minds. What's that other piece of news that you had? The one that you screenshotted.
The one that I screenshotted was that, I will tell you, that the Department of Health and Human Services plan to spend $250 million on a national education campaign to promote the vaccine in the coming weeks. So they're going to spend $250 million on ads, which will begin as early as next week. And they'll be featured on digital and social media platforms. So Human Services is going to spend $250 million to promote ads on social media to get the vaccination.
That's
so
nothing.
250 what?
I said that's nothing. That's not enough
pretty terrible
to get that idea out there. Well,
but why? I don't think they should be spending $250 million to brainwash people to go get a vaccination. Why don't you take that $250 million?
Well, you don't have to convince anybody here. I think obviously.
I'm just saying it for maybe the viewers that haven't looked at this perspective. Why don't you take that $250 million and put it towards a food bank or people that are losing their house or something? Not promoting vaccination.
Sure, that'd be a good idea if they actually cared about people, but they don't, Ericka. They don't care about people.
It's just how I wish it would be.
Sure.
That would be my wish.
It would be nice. I found a fun fact today.
What's
that only New Zealand and the United States are the only two countries where you're allowed to promote any pharmaceuticals on television. Right.
Really?
Yeah, us and New Zealand are the only two. And the interesting thing about that is if you're like Fox or you're ABC or CNN and you're getting all this ad revenue, tons of ad revenue from the pharmaceutical companies, these pharmaceutical companies aren't giving you money because they hope people are going to watch the ad. What's at the end of every ad, that really fast voice talking about all the side effects, right?
The
disclaimer. They don't think they're going to sell this to you by putting that on television. The reason why they do that is because that way the news announcers can't get on TV and say anything negative about the company that is sponsoring them.
Oh,
because they'll just cut that revenue out. So I think what you're seeing now with all this pharmaceuticals, and one of the reasons why the media doesn't want to talk about the negative possible effects of it, is because these media channels have been bought and paid for by Big Pharma for a long, long time. And it's crazy that as much of the advertisement that we see on TV and on a bus bench or a magazine, wherever you see these Big Pharma ads, we've been seeing them for years now, and it hasn't always been like that. I think they started inside the 90s where they allowed it, but as much as we see it, the budget that Big Pharma has to promote to doctors on a one-on-one basis is 8 times larger than it is to the general public. So if you think that they got the media bought and paid for, they got the doctors really, really bought and paid for. And there's been all kind of scandals, you can look it up, where they pay a guy to go to Hawaii and give a speech. And his speech is like from 10 a.m. to 10:15. And they say, bring your whole family and make it a whole weekend. And they pay for everything because they can't directly bribe, the doctors. But they have all kinds of sweetheart deals that they do. Just like politicians that get speaking engagements at energy companies.
I kind of knew about that because there's a position that you can have. I kind of wanted to do it before when I was younger. It's where you work for a pharmaceutical company.
Sure.
And you go in and bring the doctors
Yeah.
new
It's all
stuff.
hot chicks.
Right. It's like really attractive ladies. Like I was probably early 30s.
Yeah.
And I was seriously considering it, but you had to have a master's or a bachelor's degree or something. But you'd bring them like muffins.
Oh, yeah.
So like the whole thing, it's like you dress really, not scantily clad, but you would dress like in like
Form-fitting, tight
really
clothes.
nice clothes and stuff like that, suits, business attire. And then you were extremely attractive, and then you'd bring like muffins for the office and little things, and you'd drop off sample medications, and there were all kinds of different.
You stroke the doctor's ego.
Right, and there was a whole job for that, like
Yeah.
10 years ago, and I was seriously like, I looked into it really, really hard because it paid really good money.
Oh yeah, it's still a
And-
big job.
So they have that job, so I kind of know a little bit about this tricky thing that they do.
Yeah, absolutely. So
Plastic surgeon's office, like all these things.
I guess if we're starting from the beginning and people, aren't they're watching us because they're like, hey, maybe these are some silly people or whatever. Like, oh, maybe I'm crazy. Oh, maybe I am too. Yeah, people say I'm a little bit off as well. Yeah, I've smoked cocaine once. Maybe I'm crazy. There is a basis to a reason why both the media and the doctors and the politicians would not want to tell you the truth about these vaccines, and that's because their pockets are lying very, very, very fat, and it's not something that happened in 2020. This has been going on for over a decade. These are relationships that have been built over years.
Well, I agree with you. That's
Right.
why I brought up like the job that I wanted to do.
Yeah. So it is a pretty sick system. It's unfortunate that, our country specifically, when other people come to our country, that's one thing that they notice. They're like, wow, it's weird how the pharmaceutical companies can just push a drug. But, it's also weird, too, where you could go to Mexico and you could just go to the pharmacy and buy the somas. You could just go in there and buy the
Right, you can
Adderall.
get what you need.
You could just get whatever you want. It's not necessarily being pushed on you, but you just buy it. I don't know what a more honest system is. Today, Congress...
I think that that's an honest system. I like the system where
I like it.
if you want it, you just go to the pharmacy and say, hey, can I get this? And you just pay what they want for it.
Right.
Who cares? I mean, especially if it's like...
Are you going to have more or less drug addicts at that point in time? I mean, I don't know. I trust a guy that I know the drug. Like, if you're on meth, I trust you more than I trust the kid who's been on different psych meds and they're trying to find the right mixture for his brain, and he's been just depressed for like
we all
6
know,
weeks.
we've all been in contact with a meth head, a tweaker.
Sure.
And you know what's
But
interesting
I think
about
most
that?
of us have been in contact with someone that's trying to find the right mix of psych meds, and just how desperately depressed and sad those people
Oh, that's
are.
really sad.
Right. So, I mean, at least I think a meth head's a little bit more predictable than even those folks.
I agree.
And not to say
there's lots
that I
of
don't have
different kinds
compassion
of-
for either or. I'm just saying, like, if we want to talk about the dangers of drugs, those prescription drugs are pretty damn dangerous.
Right. I mean, some of the schizophrenics I know, they don't want to take their medicine.
Oh, no.
They hate their medicine. They hate their medication. So I don't know why they hate it, though. They have told me numerous times. I've been in contact with them. I've had lots of interactions with schizophrenic people, and all of them don't want to take their medication.
I mean, I talk from experience. I had schizophrenic moments inside my life when I was younger. I thought I was the Antichrist for several months. Like I was convinced I was. We've had this conversation before. Maybe I will share that story with you in more depth if you're interested. But they put me on like Wellbutrin and a couple of other ones at the time. It was like past Prozac's prime when they were trying like some of the better antidepressants, and they made me feel way more crazy than when I was just sober alone with my own thoughts, you know. So yeah, it's a pretty nutty world out there. I did want to bring up though, since we're talking about drugs, Congress passed the marijuana legislation that would basically make all marijuana crimes decriminalized, and a bunch of people that were put inside prison because of the war on drugs, they would come out of prison.
Right, I read something on that too on CNN.
But that it hasn't passed inside the Senate yet, and it probably won't pass inside the Senate.
CNN said, so I don't normally look at CNN. I was literally looking at CNN today on their CNN's Twitter just to clarify. Because Kopus had told me about the $1,500 stimulus check if you get a vaccination, and I thought he had said it was on CNN. So I was looking on their Twitter feed to see if I could find it. And I saw that they made a post saying that it probably won't pass from the Senate because Republicans won't allow it.
Right.
And they had like all these emojis and like things. It was.
I mean, it's
I
a
don't know, because
brilliant.
there's Republicans that smoke marijuana.
A lot of them, but it's a brilliant move, I think, on behalf of the Democrats to pass that bill right now when we're inside this whole, you know, I guess, civil war uprising, because there's a lot, like a ton of Republicans or people that lean towards the right that would really want this bill to pass inside the Senate. So if you want to really divide the Republican Party, you know, within itself, then this is a great thing to do, because there's the old school Republicans, you know, the Christian conservative Republicans, which some people are saying are the Q people. They kind of like are the Christian conservatives.
Right.
And then there's a new wave of Republicans that are more just like, hey, you know, don't tell me to put a mask on and stay out of my business. And those two might clash if you really want to divide a united people. You know, say, hey, screw you, you just messed up the potential of our country. Why'd you block that? You know? Right.
Well, and it's also would be really good financially for a lot of places.
Oh, yeah.
Like Houston could make so much money if they could grow marijuana here because the climate's perfect for it.
Sure.
It's got a great tropical climate, and you could grow some probably really good weed here for sure. And there's just a lot of places that could make a lot of money, create jobs, create lots of things.
It would be a great thing. We were listening to Tim Dillon's latest podcast with Candace Owens, and she brought up the slippery slope argument, which...
that weed's a slippery slope?
Yeah. She was like,
I forgot about it. She said that?
Yeah, she did. You know, the Republican argument is if you give an inch that they're going to take a mile. You know, you give them weed, then, you know, weed's going to be the gateway drug to, well, now we want heroin legal. But, I mean, that totally, like, neglects everything that's going on with Big Pharma and all the dangerous drugs that they're pushing. And it also, like, gives no credit for people making their own personal decisions for their own body and their own welfare. Like, that's not giving...
Well, didn't Trump sign something that said, like, all experimental medication is legal if you're ill? Yes.
Yes.
So he signed that law. And, well, here's my problem with it's a slippery slope, or 6 to 1, half a dozen, like all that stuff on the marijuana thing, is that if people want to use drugs, they're going to get it, okay? I'll just tell you. And it doesn't matter if it's weed. It doesn't matter if it's heroin. It doesn't matter if it's Vicodin, Xanax. They're gonna get whatever they can get their hands on if they're a drug addict.
Yeah, we tried it
So-
with Prohibition, and there was all kind of weird tonics that you could buy from the doctor that was basically booze. They found a,
Well, it had cocaine in some of them and heroin in others. Remember we showed you that?
Well, yeah, no, I'm just talking about Prohibition when they were trying to outlaw alcohol. And then what happened? You had all these people that got rich. I think that the Kennedys actually got rich because they were like whiskey barons, you know?
Remember that was false.
Oh, some say it's false, but
thought,
there's some
yeah.
truth to it.
Okay, so anyway, but people will use drugs. Remember when we were at my dad's house that one time, and I won't
It's
mention.
not the
I don't want to
whiskey-
be like throw people under the bus, but we had 2 people with us at the time,
Yeah.
and they ran out of weed, and they went in my dad's cabinets and were taking his like cough pills that had medicine in them because they
Yeah,
just,
they're doing some codeine.
yeah, because they didn't have any marijuana, but they could have went without marijuana. They just still wanted their stuff.
Okay, well that, yeah, sure, that happens. But I don't know what's the difference between that legal codeine that was inside the cabinet of your father and then, you know, weed. I'm not saying weed is completely harmless. I'm just saying that we give all the power to these people that don't care about us.
I
the
agree with
big
you.
pharma.
I agree with you. I think that weed should be legal. I think that all drugs should be legal if you'd like to know my honest opinion. And I've thought this for many, many years because people are going to do it anyway, like I just said. Doesn't
Right.
matter. So
And then you
if
put all
just-
this money in the black market.
Right.
And
So if you just had like a heroin house and like an opium den and a meth place and a place to get cocaine or a Molly or whatever you wanted to get, and you just paid the price for it.
like Amsterdam.
Yeah. So what? People do it now. I don't think it's gonna make people. Don't make a commercial for it like they banned cigarette commercials. So don't promote it, but you could go get it. Same with
Right.
prostitution. They should just
Yeah.
stop with that too.
Well, we shouldn't be so afraid of our shadow. We should be so afraid of the dark things that we do. And maybe if we had a better relationship with our shadow, like, hey, we all went through a phase where we tried, and you know, everyone's going to try different things. I mean, I've definitely tried a lot of things. I'm probably not done trying them. But, you know, if you're a little bit more connected to what that experience is, then it's not as mystical and it doesn't hold this like grip over you like it does where you have to be like a shadow person if you do drugs. You'd live underneath
Right.
a bridge, you know. You could just kind of be open about it. Yeah, Bob, so what? I wasn't working. You called me and I was a little bit high off heroin, but guess what? It wasn't my shift, bro.
right.
Okay? You know? I'm not trying to be manager. I'm trying to work my shift and do my thing. Now leave me alone. Like, hey,
Even if you are the manager, let's say you're the manager and your days off, you choose to do heroin.
yeah, well,
Or
with
acid,
that
or-
being said, is I have been the manager before, and there's an extra responsibility because what if someone doesn't show up, and then you need to be there in the absence of that person? It's your day off, but you know, theoretically, a really, really good manager would be
just
someone
go.
that would just pop in and take the overtime. You know, so I mean,
I don't know. I used to date an orthopedic surgeon
yeah.
that did cocaine and Percocets all the time and would be on call to do hip surgery.
That happens too. You know, I don't know if that's
I
a
lived
good
in
idea.
Florida.
I think it's a
I'm
terrible
just saying,
idea.
I didn't think that was nice either. Don't do it when you're on call for the hospital,
No,
but
I
definitely
think
do
he
it.
should be in prison for that. You know,
He's dead.
well, he got what he deserved.
So I don't wish death upon anyone. But
Hey, we all died a million times. Take your lumps, you know. Yeah, I think that's interesting. I think that if everybody realized that they've already died before and that we've been here on this planet like hundreds of times,
hundreds of times.
we wouldn't be so scared of death. Like death wouldn't be this big spooky thing. We wouldn't
I'm
be
not
all
scared.
like concerned and worried. Well, all I see is death porn on the mainstream media and the news.
Oh, I
Everybody's
know.
scared to die. It's like, so what? Die. You've died before. It's not that big of a deal. We have mobile morgues coming through the
Yeah,
city.
that was on the news last night. Here's the thing. So we've been checking out what's going on mainstream news.
Just so we can talk to you, really.
Yeah, because we don't really watch it. And so, like I said today, I looked at CNN's Twitter, and then last night we watched ABC News, and they were on there saying that they have mobile morgues.
Mobile morgues. What a
Because
great
of the-
business idea.
And then, like Joe Biden said that we're going to get another 250,000 people dead if people
By
don't,
the end of December.
by the end of December.
100 days of the mask is what he wants.
And so this is just like, why are you telling people? You know, I have an aunt, and she's over 80 years old, and she's overweight, and she's had a recent thing of like cancer and stuff, and she's scared to death to go to the store. She's scared to go anywhere, and she's locked in her place, and it's just terrible. I mean, that's who they're just, imagine being like a really elderly lady or man and just fearing them to death. Like if my dad didn't have my siblings there, he'd be all by himself.
Right.
You know, like my mom is in Albuquerque, like we told you yesterday, but if she didn't have her brothers, two of my uncles live there, she would be there just all by herself. Probably upset.
Well, yeah. I mean, obviously, there's a electronic pulse on this planet, and it's really fear-based right now. And there's also a lot of people waking up, and there's a lot of manipulation going on there. So all I can say is, do what you can to keep yourself off the fear spectrum, and more into the, hey, this is a game, and the game is, we're awake now, and we see the plan. We see what's going on here, and we're not going to let you do it to us.
Yeah, don't go back to sleep.
Don't go back to bed. It's not time yet.
You know what? Something else that I'd like to say on here is, if you know someone who's old, and you don't have to, this is just a suggestion, give them a call. Because they're probably just sitting in their house watching the news and worried about stuff. So if you could do that, call them, even if it's a neighbor or something. That's something that would be nice. And also...
And talk to them about death. I mean, really, people, are afraid to have that conversation.
Or tell them to take some vitamin D.
Yeah, I'm not saying go kill yourself. I'm not saying have a talk with grandma and say go kill yourself. What I'm saying is, talk to them and say, it's so crazy how people are so scared of dying. Are you scared of dying? I'm not scared of dying. It doesn't seem like something, really be scared for. Of course I want, to see you next summer and hang out, and that would be wonderful. But at the same time, if on my way to the grocery store, if someone, killed me because they threw, a Molotov cocktail into my car and I burned alive, I wouldn't necessarily love burning alive, but I'd be fine, dying because I've probably already died before. It's not that big of a deal, is it? And the more I think we have that conversation, I think the less fear we're in. How can you really be scared if you're not really scared to die? And that's the only thing they got on us right now is that, well, we all might die. It's like, so what?
Yeah, but then again, I don't want kids to think that they should kill themselves either.
I'm not. That's a terrible thing to do. That's a terrible thing to talk about. Hey,
that's happening though. Do you know that suicides are up over 200%? Child suicide.
I'm 100% aware of that.
Child suicide.
I think that the reason why is because of this fear of death. Is because, they're like, God, I'm scared to be alive because this is just going to be a life of just terrible, death and destruction, and the world's coming to an end, and I'm just going to take myself out. They feel everybody else's sad and worried energy. These kids are a lot more compassionate and sensitive. So, I mean, I'm not saying it's the answer to everything. I'm just saying that having a conversation about it's okay to die is not a bad thing. Now, of course, you're talking to someone that's not even a teenager yet, and you'd say, hey, look, you got many, many years on this planet left.
Right.
So you're not going to die. And I'm probably not going to die for a very long time. I'm just saying that dying's not as big of a deal as they make it out to be, because we all have died already. We've already died.
Okay.
That's my point of view.
I just don't think we should talk to children about that.
I don't think there's a problem with that. Anyway, I guess that's our door. We will see you later.
A few moments later.
All right. So yeah, that was just gaffer's tape.
Gaffer's tape.
But no, we probably should call it a end for today.
Yeah, I think so. And we'll see you guys again tomorrow. Remember, we're trying to get 1,000 subscribers. So we're going to do a video every day till we get that 1,000 subscribers. And don't forget to comment, like.
Yeah, we're not trying to punish you here. We're learning the chops. You know, we're figuring things out as we go along. We're gonna probably have a guest soon enough. But let's go ahead and
I'll read you something from Mr. Rogers in closing. There's only one person like you in the whole world like you. And people like you exactly as you are.
People like you exactly as you are. It's true.
Yep.
Bye-bye.